Witcher 4 has been announced. I can't say anything about it. What we know is that Geralt will be part of the game. We just don't know how much, and the game won't focus on Geralt, so it's not about him this time.
And that, my friend, was a big oopsie made by Geralt of Rivia voice actor Doug Cockle a couple of months ago in regards to, well, his role within The Witcher 4. He hadn't realized that the game wasn't announced yet, and he was speaking on things that he wasn't supposed to, and CD Projekt Red made sure to let him know that he shouldn't have been saying any of that. And in recent weeks, he had actually been saying, I know nothing to do with anything with that game. I might not even appear, but it's quite clear he's going to be playing maybe a mentorship role, kind of like how Vesemir appears in The Witcher 3 to Geralt. Maybe he's going to be doing that same role, but this time for Ciri. But the big thing about this new Witcher 4 installment is that indeed, Ciri is a Witcher. She somehow passed the Trial of the Grasses, and there's a lot that we do not know about this installment, like how she even achieved something like that. Is it because of her elder blood? There's a lot of question marks. And it is also important to remember that she has a new medallion, the House of the Lynx. We know nothing about this. Maybe she explores a faraway land with Witchers that we don't know about, that somehow have achieved with modern medicine a way that women can pass this. Obviously, that's going to create some controversy, and CD Projekt Red just the other day discussed a lot of this. They actually got ahead of some of the backlash and responded to a lot of the questions that people have in regards to the future direction of the Witcher franchise, and we're going to break it all down today. It's probably best to remind everybody, because this is something I've seen widespread on social media the last couple of months from fans that just are not familiar with this franchise, but have seen, like, you know, the TV show and stuff. But we've known about the, the fact that Geralt wasn't going to be the main protagonist since at least 2013. That was the first time CD Projekt Red announced it. They said that they were going to be wrapping up the trilogy. This was the end of Geralt as the main protagonist. And around 2015, the lead up to The Witcher 3 and right after, around Blood and Wine, they pretty much made clear that, yeah, Geralt's time as the main protagonist was over. We're going to go a different direction if we're going to be making new Witcher games. And that is how here we have The Witcher 4 with Ciri as the lead protagonist. But that doesn't close the door on obviously Geralt appearing in some role. Now, it is also worth mentioning in 2022, that's when we got our first teaser for this game. And it was this medallion, which is a lynx, a house that is we know nothing about, and it has no connection to the books or anything. This is something that we'll be finding out once, CD Projekt Red gives us new information. But for now, all we can do is really theorize about this. But it is also important to know, around this time, we got the codename for this game, and it was Project Polaris, which Polaris, Ciri's, ability to travel between space and time. I feel like the evidence was always there. But we also did see this new Witcher game won't be called The Witcher 4, and that did not age all that well. Technically, I guess, because this game isn't The Witcher 4, it's The Witcher IV, Roman numerals. I guess CDPR can skirt around that criticism a little bit. But indeed, at the Game Awards is when we got our first teaser trailer for The Witcher 4. This is like a short film CGI by Platige Images along with CDPR. It's rendered within Unreal Engine, but that's obviously not how the game is going to look. CDPR did similar things with Cyberpunk 2077 years before the game released. The same thing with The Witcher 3. It's just a teaser to show, the vision that they have for this new Witcher installment, which, you have a ritual that's gone wrong, Ciri, killing monsters, and having to deal with the consequences of what appeared to be a very morally good choice. Very Witcher-esque. We've seen multiple scenarios play out in the games that are similar to this. We also did see CD Projekt Red at the Game Awards celebrating this. This was actually a video that Andy Robinson of VGC took, and as you can see, the CD Projekt Red developers get up and they change themselves. Well, their jackets are already Witcher 4, so they were already prepared for this. This is a big moment for them, but the big thing is this game is still years away. It actually just entered full production like a month or two ago, so the time that The Witcher 4 releases, it's probably going to be 3 to 4 years from now, and especially after Cyberpunk 2077, a lot of the mistakes that they made in the lead up to that game, they have to get this right, and they know that the pressure is on, because The Witcher 3, for many, including myself, is considered one of the greatest games of all time, and they cannot repeat the history that they've already experienced with Cyberpunk. That was a colossal failure, especially at launch, and it took them years to repair their image, and even to this point, a lot of people do not trust this company, and they have a lot to prove. But we did see other developers on the game celebrating the level design lead of The Witcher Witcher 4, saying, "Hard to describe how emotional this moment is for me. More than a decade after we announced The Witcher 3, it's finally here. This is The Witcher 4. How did you like our surprise? A lot of love went into it. And we're doing our best to make the best Witcher game ever." We saw the head of the studio, Adam Badowski, saying, "Thank you to everyone who's contributing to the artistic development of our game." And then he made sure to point out, it's a cinematic trailer pre-rendered in Unreal Engine 5 on an unannounced NVIDIA GeForce RTX GPU, maybe the upcoming 5000 series. And we did see fans picking up some of the small details that they left behind for us to, find Ciri wearing a new medallion, presumably the links, which, yes, her connection to this new house is probably going to be a big storyline within this new installment. We saw somebody else pointing out it's the same sword Ciri got from Geralt in The Witcher 3, it seems, and this was confirmed by CD Projekt Red. We also have a reminder that a cinematic does not reflect final in-game appearances, because yes, there is controversy with how Ciri looks within this new trailer, this teaser image. Obviously, she is not the same Ciri. Her voice actress also seems to be different. I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe this is something to do with the Trial of the Grasses. It's really unclear why they changed voice actress. Maybe there's a story there. We'll find out in the future. But it is rather notable that she's no longer the 20-year-old. It looks like she's like in her mid to late 30s. That would be my guess. She looks a lot older pretty much. And with Elder Blood in her, who knows how many years later this is after the events of The Witcher 3. All we know is several years. That's something that CDPR said in an interview that, again, we'll get into a second. But many people pointing out the fact that the CGI teaser trailer could be very different than the Ciri that we end up seeing within the actual game. This Reddit user pointing out a reminder that a cinematic does not reflect final in-game appearances, and they point out the 2015 launch cinematic versus the final in-game version. And yeah, Geralt looks much, much better in the in-game version. Hopefully, again, the case here with Ciri within The Witcher 4, because I think she looks fine. I think some of the shots she doesn't look great in, but I do think the more I look at the teaser trailer, I think she looks like what I would expect she would if it's been like 20 to 30 years later. Another developer, this is the narrative director on The Witcher 4, saying, "I'm happy we finally reveal Ciri and give you a glimpse of The Witcher 4. We know the expectations are high, so we want to do it justice by creating an engrossing and mature game that doesn't pull any punches. I hope you love the trailer as much as we loved making it." But the outrage very much is here with The Witcher 4 already. We saw a Twitter account saying, The Witcher where you don't play as The Witcher. I also really appreciate the completely female-centric focus of the movie trailer. Female struggle, female needing saving, female saves, female dead, you go females, the witch her prizes. We saw another YouTuber, Endymion. This went absolutely viral. CD Projekt Red has completely been hit with the DEI ugly stick. What the F is the Ciri, and her voice actor is different too, which maybe there's an explanation for that. I'm watching this live right now. I'm not thrilled. I'm sad, dude. And although, I gotta be honest, I actually think that Ciri looks pretty decent, but that's just my opinion. We did see another account again criticizing the look of Ciri here, saying female characters in 2013, that's an in-game shot, like Ciri, cute, energetic, flawed but powerful, not necessarily empowered. I think he meant 2015. The Witcher 4 DEI, angry, more independent, and less conventionally attractive. And again, we won't know how she actually looks in the game probably for another 3 to 4 years, assuming that they let this game cook, and they've said as much. But CD Projekt Red alongside IGN actually broke down this trailer and gave us a lot more background information, again, on the direction and the meaning of some of the moments within this teaser trailer. And first off, they talk about the brand new protagonist. They say several years have passed since the events of The Witcher 3. Ciri has undergone the legendary Trial of the Grasses, so there is confirmation of that here from CDPR. How that makes sense, we don't know. A painful rite of passage for any graduating Witcher that mutates the participant's body into something more than human. And then a CD Projekt Red executive producer goes on to explain that was a huge thing for us to make that call to mutate Ciri, not only for her, but for the game. But then it's important and still leaves so much space for imagination, like when it happened, how it happened. It's just a tease showing something, but you don't know how you will experience it and how in the game. I think it's a huge change, and I hope people did not expect it. And what this sounds like to me is that we're going to be experiencing the Trial of the Grasses within The Witcher 4. So she's not going to immediately have these Witcher powers. At least that's what I assume. So we'll maybe see the more of the sorcerer side of her at first, and then she'll transform maybe maybe mid-game. Maybe we eventually find this House of the Lynx. It's very unclear how this is all going to work, but definitely there is going to be an explanation there. Now, as we move on, CD Projekt Red made sure to inform us that Ciri is not going to be like Geralt. This is a different character, and they're leaning into that. Geralt was famous for remaining neutral and as apolitical as possible when it came to the larger conflicts at play in the first trilogy of games. Those aren't footsteps that Ciri necessarily wants to follow in. Though she doesn't want to stay neutral, Kalemba, the game director of this, says she was way younger, she's still defining her own code, and she's less pragmatic. It's a sentiment echoed by the executive producer. I think what makes her so special as a protagonist overall is that she has so many layers and the passionate engagement of being a Witcher, but she wants to be the person that is always choosing a side. There is no neutral anymore in her, so this is a new path, right? And a new experience for the player as well. And they go on to add, what's amazing about her is that she's not that well defined, the game director adds, so we have this opportunity to let the player define or experience this path, this journey. So yes, it does seem like we're going to have a lot of customization, a lot of choice and consequence within this experience, leaning into the role-playing side. Since I can remember, we believe that for sure the next journey, the next saga belongs to Ciri, as she's a super wide container for emotions, for the experience, for the journey. So like I said, the direction that she takes as a Witcher, it does seem like we're going to have the ability to change and, influence that drastically. Now, they do confirm the monster, the creature that we do see in this teaser trailer, is called the Bok. His name is Bok. He has this ability to smell your fear, to be able to play with your traumas, to paralyze you, so that you finally become easy prey and easy meal. And I'll assume that maybe he appears in some fashion within the actual game. That would be an interesting questline to come upon. And CD Projekt Red does confirm that ahead of her battle with the Bok, we see Ciri sharpening her own silver sword. And if your playthrough of The Witcher 3 ended with Ciri becoming a Witcher, then you'll likely recognize this particular blade. I believe that some people will already spot that it's most probably Ziriel, and this is the game director saying this. The sword was a gift from Geralt within that game, and it is said that no Witcher has or ever had a better weapon. And then they go on to talk about some other stuff in regards to, the magic that we do see within this. Ciri is not only mutated, she's a source, a powerful source, so she's a special being, the game director says. The mutated source means that's kind of connecting two worlds, the Witcher world and the sorcerer world. So yes, this is another way in which they're going to be differentiating her from Geralt, leaning into both sides of her power. During the trailer, we see Ciri draw energy from the cave's water and turn it into an electrified blast. She's able to drain the source, the stream that is next to her, and catalyze it in a powerful spell, in this case, the Bolt. Now, this is very much the question that's on everybody's mind, and this is the controversy that's already blowing up on social media, the decision to make Ciri the lead protagonist. And again, IGN talked to CD Projekt Red about this, and the executive producer said that Ciri was the very organic, logical choice. It was always about her, starting from Saga when you read it in the books. She's an amazing, layered character, and of course, as a protagonist, we said goodbye to Geralt previously, very much so within Blood and Wine, very much a nod at fans at the time, so this is a continuation. I guess for all of us, it's like she was meant to be. That was always her, and I believe in a couple of other interviews we're going to be getting into, they actually mentioned 9 years ago they had already made the choice that Ciri was going to be the main protagonist if or when they were to continue this franchise. Game director Sebastian Kalemba added that because Ciri is younger than Geralt, players will have more freedom to define her character in a way that we couldn't with Geralt. This also affords the developers more space to explore her character, things I touched about just a second ago. She's actually about to become the Witcher, so again, we're not going to be seeing her just as the Witcher. She's about to become one, which we are going to be a part of that journey. She's about to actually form her own codex, but on her own terms. The way she actually deals with the monsters, the way she deals with quests, the adventures, it's her own unique way. And also, I think that gives more room to be able to tell different stories here and there. Of course, we want to give the opportunity for the player to explore more nuance, because this is what we do, but she deserves that. And both these game developers at CDPR acknowledged a potential backlash from some corners of the internet Ciri's role as protagonist in The Witcher 4, but both insisted Ciri was always going to be the game's main character. There was an intention behind this choice. It was far from the roulette. It wasn't random. I remember we had discussions 9 years ago, so this is what I was alluding to. It's actually in this interview. We were talking about who's next. The very, very instant answer was Ciri. There are many reasons behind that. We've already mentioned a few, but she really deserves a stage, and we want players to really experience her story because she's so much to tell, so much to prove. The amount of challenges that are in front of her gives us so much amazing energy and fuel to create an epic saga that we had no choice but to go with it. We all felt that this is the way. I believe this is the super right choice. And I do think that those are upset that we're not going to be experiencing any more Geralt or, male Witcher games. I think it's important to remember that a Witcher 1 remake is on the way. And that is one of those games that has not aged all that well, and seeing it get this giant facelift, we are going to be able to experience more Geralt. It's just the question of when with that game, and also he'll be appearing in this game in some fashion. I think we all expect that, especially based on the remarks made by Doug Cockle recently. And also in a new interview just the other day with PC Gamer, CD Projekt Red did in fact confirm Geralt is going to be appearing in The Witcher 4. The game's director Sebastian Columba saying he's so important for us and for Ciri, and definitely he's going to appear in the game. I can't tell you more, but I think the promise is enough. And this is Ciri's dad. There was no way that he wasn't going to appear in some fashion, but it is nice to have this confirmation. And maybe like The Witcher 3 with Ciri, there'll be a couple playable segments as Geralt again. Who knows? Now, another controversial point that CD Projekt Red hit on with IGN was Cyberpunk 2077, and them hopefully not repeating that disaster again. And they did discuss some of the steps they're taking to avoid that. Executive producer and game director explained the steps CDPR has taken to ensure it's avoiding repeating the mistakes, and chief among them is let it cook, which I very much agree. Okay, so first and foremost, let it cook, the game director declared. Secondly, the way we produce it right now also changed in a very good way, meaning that we are very mindfully defining the stages of the production. We are very mindfully trying to scope it, making sure that the foundation is there. To be very honest, I already see that it helps us to make sure that whatever we create right now is super coherent across the board, and this way makes us feel that we control this super complex environment more than we used to control, and that also makes everyone feel more secure when it comes to developing generally on a daily basis. And I do think with this CD Projekt Red team, it's very different. This isn't the same team that made The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I think they lost half of that team by the time, Cyberpunk 2077 came out, and a lot of that Cyberpunk 2077 team departed, and the company went through a huge transformation since 2020. But a lot of that Phantom Liberty team, which delivered one of the best expansions ever, they are still there. And I believe the lead writer of the Witcher franchise and Cyberpunk 2077, they are very much still a part of The Witcher 4. So yeah, I do have hope for The Witcher 4 to be a fantastic successor and maybe surpass The Witcher 3. I do think that there are signs of that. But I also do understand some of the concerns because, yeah, a lot of the senior development team, the talent that made The Witcher 3 what it was and Cyberpunk 2077, the base game, what it was, they're no longer there. This is a different CD Projekt Red, but so far the quality has not fallen in terms of narrative content, so I definitely still have hope, and I'm actually very much excited for the future of this franchise, at least right now. Now, the executive producer goes on to say that CD Projekt is being more transparent inside and outside the studio, improving communication across the board so everyone knows where the project stands. Not lying is definitely a step forward. We also push a lot of effort for the transparency of the vision to make sure that it cascades with the whole team so everybody knows that we are transparent with the board and across the project within the Red Studio, not only within the project itself. So I think this is also very cool. And this doesn't mean it didn't happen before, but the effort is bigger. So make sure that the game is always working, and we iterate a lot, we fail fast, work fast. I think it's also a very healthy way to look at it. And for sure, we've gotten a lesson on how to also communicate with the outside world and when. So definitely seems to be a hint at smarter marketing, which that's a plus because Cyberpunk 2077, just a lot of mistakes made across the board with how they handled that game. Now, in another portion of this interview from IGN, they go over a lot more details in regards to some of the gameplay choices and the directions that they are they're taking with The Witcher 4, along with some more details about Ciri within this new installment. And they specifically say, Sebastian Kalemba, the game director, "Since I can remember, we've been talking about Ciri and how much she deserves her own journey." Kalemba explains, following the events of The Witcher 3, Ciri has undertaken the famously painful Trial of the Grasses, which has mutated her into a powerful and resilient warrior. I love this grit in her. She's almost obsessed with the way she lives. There's some moments where you have to give with your heart instead of always going at the calculated calls, and this is what I love in Ciri. She's less calculating, following her heart, her passion, her gut feel. It's this passion that will differentiate Ciri from Geralt and subsequently The Witcher 4 from its predecessors. We want to let players try to define her. Unlike Geralt, who's been a veteran monster hunter for the entire Witcher saga, Ciri is only just starting her career. That means there's space for players to create their own version of her. And he goes on to mention about some of the details and some of the choices that they're going to be making with this Witcher installment and giving players agency. We want to put player agency at the center. Achieving such has required an expansion and evolution of The Witcher's definition of player choice. We're giving more tools for players' disposal to be able to not only play and go with the consequences narratively, but also gameplay-wise. We want to give players more opportunities to be able to feel that they define their experience, which is encouraging. That is awesome, because I think that one of the areas that CD Projekt Red has lacked in is the choices and the consequences. That was actually one of the criticisms with Cyberpunk 2077, especially the life pass within that game, which meant nothing. With this new Witcher installment, you having an established protagonist, the role-playing side of it, there's limitations to that. So giving players more and more choice, even with something like this, it's awesome to hear. And again, how they execute it, that's really the big question mark. Now, Kalemba, the game director, goes on to talk about, again, the gameplay of this new Witcher installment, saying, "This is something we definitely wanted to bring as a lesson to The Witcher 4. We want to improve on The Witcher 3's gameplay, but also we want to improve on the alignment on the way you will be able to explore the world." He hopes that such improvements will result in a super coherent experience across main story missions, side quests, and open world activities. Now, CD Projekt Red does discuss the canon ending for The Witcher 3. This is, again, a hot topic issue, and I think everybody assumes that this has to be that Ciri becomes a Witcher, because that is one of the endings, but it doesn't appear to be exactly that way. One of the game's narrative leads, or one of the game's developers, saying, "The one complication is probably the idea that there is an ending in which Ciri can die in The Witcher 3, explains Maher. Thankfully, that ending, which is one of the 3 different fates for Ciri and the outcome of several hidden choices made throughout the game, isn't quite as clear-cut as it may seem. There are hints in the ending that highlight the fact that she probably does not die," says Maher. And so regardless of the events you personally witnessed at the end of your own Witcher 3 playthrough, the sequel will not break any canon or even offend any canon. Which, how they work around that again, another big question mark and a big unknown. And next, they do discuss bringing this franchise to a whole new audience, many who have not, chosen to play any of the Witcher games before. They say there will be plenty of players coming to The Witcher 4 who have no knowledge of the events of the previous games, to whom the details of Ciri's former adventures will mean little. We want to aim for new players, says the executive producer, the wider audience, and also the people that know the franchise but who maybe do not play our games. As such, The Witcher 4 is being pitched as the start of something new as much as it is the continuation of something old. So they are trying to honor the past while also pushing the franchise forward. At least that's what it seems like they're trying to say here. As part of that, these game developers explain that they're ensuring The Witcher 4 is an approachable experience. They want everyone who cares to play, but there doesn't seem to be any sign of the studio's trademark RPG death being watered down in payment for that approachability. We create story-driven games, so we want to make sure that people that buy games for story, they'll be able to experience the story in their own way, and they will be simply able to approach it. But people that are looking for specific challenges, they will also be able to experience the story in a challenging way. Now, as massive as that IGN interview with CD Projekt Red developers on The Witcher 4 was, we actually got this interview about a week ago again with other CD Projekt Red developers talking about this new Witcher installment. Technical ambition, optimism, and time frames. They talked about the technology side, they also talked about marketing and made some big promises about this sequel. Specifically, one of the game's developers saying, again, I will not say it's easy, but I think that we have some cool stuff going and hopefully that will have some good showcase of the technology. The only thing I will say is that changing the tech for us does not change the fact that we will always be ambitious, and the next game we do will not be smaller and it will not be worse. So it will be better, bigger, greater than The Witcher 3. Those are mighty ambitions. It will be better than Cyberpunk because for us, it's unacceptable to launch that way. We don't want to go back, which is great to hear, but again, you know, words are one thing, you got to show that. You got to show that with The Witcher 4 when it does launch. Even if there will be some sweaty moments and maybe even some bad stuff happening, still I think that we will try everything we can to make it even more than what we achieved in the past years. So the technology should not be a blocker for us, basically. And these comments have been attributed to the entire project, and obviously I think he's referring mostly to the technology side of this next Witcher installment, but it doesn't matter. People are going to be looking at the narrative, they're going to be looking at every single aspect and expecting better from Projekt Red. These are the expectations that they have set for themselves, and they have to know it, especially because in many people's minds The Witcher 3 is considered one of the greatest games of all time, and surpassing that, not going to be easy. The pressure is very much on. That's why they need to make sure that they get this right and very much avoid anything close to what happened with Cyberpunk. Now, the company's CEO did say about the marketing and the future plans with talking about The Witcher 4, he kind of gave us a little bit of an idea. He added that for a new game, we would still expect a slightly longer but not 2-year lasting campaign. So I'm very much not expecting anything new Witcher 4 related, probably for another 2 to 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised that we see, a new in-game trailer, probably around 2026, I would assume. Having said that, this game CEO, he said, I wanted to stress it doesn't mean we would not tease or drop some cool assets before a full reveal, because the marketing campaign slightly earlier before the launch of the game, that's different than the actual, say, mass attack. Mass attack is when you announce the date, you start collecting the pre-orders, and really is the race from that point, that moment, to the moment you launch the game. For example, he continued, if I ask you, what do you know about The Witcher 4? The answer is not much, probably. Yes, there's theories and so on, but there's nothing really specific. So we want to drop the crumbs here and there so that people in the media as well can, pick it up and try to figure out what it is we're trying to say this time. So that is something we can start doing a little bit earlier, which is what we're seeing right now at the Game Awards with that teaser trailer, the CGI trailer, that would involve aspects such as having some video assets or something to whet the appetite of fans, which is what we just now got. Not even to create the hype so much, he said, as to simply get the early conversations flowing, and very much they're flowing. Anyway, very much on social media, I am just seeing all kinds of different posts debating on how Ciri looks in this new Witcher 4 installment. Like, this is an example. Everyone expected to play Ciri in The Witcher 4. Yes, that's exactly what I've been saying for a while now. However, considering Projekt Red's new business-focused tilt direction and getting this first look at the MC and comparing it to the previous design, she's much older now. That's the argument. And also, somebody points out, CDPR's game characters always look different in cinematic trailers. Again, this is going to be right there in the culture wars. I think Projekt Red really needs to prove the doubters wrong. The pressure is on. Expectations are going to be extremely high, and they just need to deliver. If they create a fantastic experience, people are going to be there day one. And obviously with Ciri, I think the expectations, a lot of people are looking for a grand experience, especially after Geralt. Those 3 games were fantastic, and seeing this new saga, Projekt Red just, again, needs to deliver, and they've pretty much set the expectations to themselves. They have to surpass what they've done in the past. So the pressure is on. They have a couple of years to get this right, and I'm looking forward to seeing this because this is going to be one of my most anticipated games, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing actual gameplay, which again, they just enter full production, gonna be a while from now, but this was definitely a teaser trailer that everybody is talking about right now, and I want to know, what do you make of The Witcher 4? What do you make of Ciri as the protagonist? She's undergone the trial of the grasses, seems like she has some Witcher sorcerer powers, she has very different than the Geralt, and I definitely think that she's going to play different. So what do you expect out of this? She was kind of overpowered within The Witcher 3, so I do wonder how they're going to balance all of that. A lot of question marks right now, but let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, or if you found any informative value. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.